Good evening and welcome. I am yours truly TR, NYERERE X, representing for the TR News and Reviews, and of course the TR Show. I want to say thank you all for coming out to this another event when we, of course, shall be treating you with what we have in store via our main and special guest, Yancy Teague, presidential candidate, of course. She will be in the running to be an advocate for change. Now, this is what we need. This is what we need, whether you believe it or not, whether you realize it or not. This is what we believe, that change is necessary from time to time. And when we can have change via a woman of God or somebody who believes that God is to be placed at the front, God is to be placed in the schools, God is to be recognized as Almighty and the giver of life, the source of life, and so forth and so on. We have also with us our co-host, Dr. Monica, who has not arrived yet on the scene. She will be arriving a little bit later. So let's just introduce our special guest. Now, if you want to know more about our special guest, who is Yancy Teague, of course, her information is provided below in the description. You can read it for yourself. But if I should start to introduce her, I would say quickly, Alice has over 14 years of experience in responsibilities in the public eye and governmental sectors. In the early 80s, Alice worked for the VA hospital in Chicago. Her family background was involved in political arena. Alice is currently involved in her community as a community organizer and working with civil rights issues. I'm going to stop right there. And then you can go for yourself and you can take a look in the description and you can read for yourself so it doesn't seem like I am making up things here. You can read for yourself. That's all available on the website of our presidential candidate, Yancy Teague. And so without further ado, that was just a brief introduction of our presidential candidate. So without further ado, we're going to bring her, of course, right to the front where you can see her for yourself. And so welcome to the TR News and Reviews. This is your presidential candidate, Yancy Teague. Welcome.
Well, hello, and thank you, TR, for having me on your show again. It's been my pleasure, and it's always my pleasure to be on your show. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you for taking the time out to just have the opportunity, for giving me the opportunity to let the world know that they have a choice in the November 3rd election. You do have another candidate. And of course, that's myself, Alice Yancy Teague. And if you want to know more about me, TR just introduced you a little bit about me, but it's a lot on my website. You can visit my website at AliceYancyTeagues2020.com. And I'm just going to say that again, AliceYancyTeagues2020.com. And so without further ado, I would like to get into tell you a little bit what I'm planning on doing if you elect me for your next president of the United States of America. Well, we have several issues that we need to deal with. One of the issues is police brutality. We know that police brutality has been a very big problem in the United States. One of the things, especially since the George Floyd case with your knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We all know that police has been shooting unarmed people, young teens and older men and women. And so with that being said, it must stop. If I'm elected president, one of the things that I will do is reform the criminal justice system. And yes, we need to have it reformed. And I will make sure that police are being accountable for all wrongdoing and make sure that the injustice will get justice. One of the things that I recommend for police officers, just like any other training, we'll take, for example, as a medical assistant. A medical assistant have to at least do 18 months, and then they have to get recertified. And I believe that police needs to have extra amount of training. I believe that they need to at least carry a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And then every year that they need to be retrained and have in-service training as well. One of the things I would like to say is that if you give the police officer, Dick Gregory said it better, give the police officer something that they can't afford to lose. Well, one of the things that they can't afford to lose is their job. If you license them and insure them, and if they do something wrong, then they will be stricken immediately, and then they will never be able to work at any other police agency. And so it gives you to the point to say that give them something that they can't afford to lose. The other things that I want to do is healthcare. Healthcare has been a big problem in the United States. I believe that everyone needs an affordable healthcare, but I want to make that a group healthcare. And what I mean about a group healthcare, that means that if someone is in your home and have to get emergency help, they will be able to be given emergency care with your healthcare plan. And I want to make sure that everybody have affordable health care. The other thing that I'm going to tackle with is homeless. We have too many homeless people. A lot of teenagers are homeless, and we have a lot of veterans that are homeless. And in veterans, if you're out there, I salute you. And I just want to say, as your next president, I want to fight for you. I will fight for you. I will wake up every morning fighting for the American people, because we all know that the president that we have now has have done nothing but destroyed our country. Our democracy is a mess, has caused division. And any time that you have a leader, they should be a leader that will lead and not be destructive.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying what you have said. And we're going to just bring on a quick, we're just going to bring on for those of you who did not find Yancy Teague, our presidential candidate, you can find her again at, let me just share the screen with you quickly and share her website so you all can take a look at her for yourself, and you know where you can find her. So let me just bring that on quickly so you can see that for yourself. So where am I? Sorry. All right, so let me just share this real quick so you can see her for yourself. And hold on. Sorry, I am making a mess here, but I'll get it quickly. All right, so here we go. So this is the website of our dear presidential candidate. The time is now. And so this is the front page of her website, and you can all go there for yourself. You can just type in Alice Yancy Teague 2020.com, and you can find her and all her glorious works. You can find them on this page. Now, for those who would ever want to contribute to her endeavor in running for president, because we know how that goes, if there is anybody who wants to do that, then you know how to do it. You can go to the page as well, to the website, and you can donate whatever you can. Now, with that said, let us jump back right into the show with our presidential candidate. Now, for those of you who wants to find out more about our president, if you want to ask any questions, we will be taking questions, whatever you want to find out. If you want to find out if she's married, if she's single, if she has children, what does she believe in educational system, what is she planning to put in the schools, whatever questions you have, she has an answer to all those questions. So Let me start it off. Since I am the host, let me start off with the questions. So my first questions, my one of my first question is, we're going into a new school year, and of course we have been plagued with the coronavirus, and they are deciding now. The government is deciding to reopen the schools, and of course with the intention of practicing social distance. Now, you as the president, you as the leader of the country, do you believe that children should be going back to school wearing masks, practicing social distance, and all of that thing in school right now? Do you think this is acceptable as a government to to reopen the schools, send the children back to school wearing masks and all these things? What is your take on this? What is your belief?
Thank you, TR. That is a very good question. My personal belief is that the school should not be reopened because we still have a pandemic. And when you talk about children's wearing masks, everybody knows it's hard for children to keep masks on, especially when there's a recess and stuff like that during lunch period. It's going to be hard for children to keep their masks on. What I suggest is that they do a virtual training, that the teachers will be able to do Zooming, and that way you can be in your own household, and then the parents can guide it and they can watch their children, and that this way the parents get involved. But certainly, I don't think that the school should be able to be open right now because we cannot track this pandemic and we have not having a cure for this pandemic, and it's still out there and it's real. And I think that we're putting the kids and the teachers more in danger if they decide to go ahead with the plan and reopen the schools early.
Okay. Yes, I agree with you. As it is for the pandemic. Now we have seen where during the pandemic, there was like a slight break just before, or as a matter of fact, not before, but right in that week when George Floyd died. We realized that people were back out in their numbers. People were not practicing social distancing. People were curious. Like, I was curious as well. Where did pandemic go? How are these people, including the police officers, they were out there in the public without mask. They were not practicing social distance. Everybody was all over the place. Now, what do you think? Because what we see right now is that there is a new outbreak of the. As a matter of fact, it is not even an outbreak. Is a case where the pandemic has continued. So there was a break to accommodate George Floyd death. There was a break to accommodate George Floyd's death, and then after that we see where people are now focused on a pandemic and trying to avoid an outbreak to come again. So when it comes on to pandemic and this whole COVID thing, what is your take on it? Do you believe that this was a man-made thing for the destruction of a particular people? Was the pandemic set out to affect the black people, or was it just to divide the people as a country? What is your take on pandemic? Some people call it the pandemic, because some people say this was planned. Some people say these people is responsible. The people in government is responsible highly for pandemic. It is not just a Chinese outbreak or something that was developed in China, but rather it has been a government situation. Now, for someone like you who expect to be in government soon, which is just a couple months away, if they break the news that the government is responsible for it and you are now the president, how are you going to tell them that this was not your responsibility because this was there before you came? What would be your plan to curb the situation? What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Let me just say this. During
All right, it
the
seems
day,
like we have lost our
okay,
president there for a
okay,
minute.
there
Oh,
we
she's
go.
back.
There we go. Okay. Let me just say this. During the George Floyd case, people was not really being concerned about the pandemic because you had people that was angry because of the fact George Floyd died in front of the world with a police officer putting his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So they wanted to make some noise, and of course they was trying to still do social distance, but with the George Floyd case they took a risk knowing what the chances would be if they were to catch the pandemic, but they also wanted to make noise to say, hey, this is where we stand, we don't care, we want something done. So the George Floyd case is a totally different case, that we had young people, we had old people, we had people of color, we had Caucasian people. They wanted to take a stand, and they wasn't worried about the pandemic, which they should have been, but they wanted to make sure that their voice was heard. Now, this is a government's thing. I can say that. One of the things that I can say as government, and I think that the government failed, is that when this pandemic came around and the doctor Fushi was saying that this was something serious, when Mr. 45, I call him, knew about it, he says, oh, it's nothing, it's a fluke, it will go away. Well, we know that that did not happen. And I believe that he should have acted on it immediately, but most of all, not keep the American people in the dark, because that's what happened. And then people got scared, and then, and it affected people of color. And so I just wanted to say, if, even if I am elected for the new president, I can't clear this right away. This is a problem that was before me. But what I will do is make sure that we have the people in place that needs to be in place, the pandemic team, the infection control team, and I will not keep American people in the dark. I will make sure that they know every step of the way that I am planning on doing, because we have to remember it is the safety of American people. And that's why you need to have a president that always will put the American people first. And that's what I will do, especially when we have any type of pandemic, because of the fact this pandemic is still with us. We still have to have your PPEs. We still have to have your masks on. And I believe that they should make it mandated for that. I take a good example of that. Our governor here in Georgia, he made a statement that he's going to take away the ban for masks, making it where you can wear a mask, or if you don't want to wear a mask, I think it should be mandated, because then do you really value the American people? So I don't think that the government, they really, or they don't care about people, they only care about themselves. And because if they did, this pandemic wouldn't have got out of hand the way it did. Mr. 45 would have been able to address it as soon as he was told, versus keeping people in the dark. And I believe that people should be aware of anything that comes into United States. And as president of America, I will make sure that I will not keep the people in the dark. And I suggest that we make it a mandate for us to wear masks until we can get a control of this pandemic, because we still got lives that are being taken. And this is serious. And so until they can find a cure, I think that we should definitely have masks. We should definitely make sure that we are informed of every step that's going on, and that they find a vaccination for this. And as president, I will make sure that I have the emergency staff in place for any type of pandemic.
Okay. There is a question on the screen. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm gonna read it just in case you're not noticing the question on the screen. But Carla Sorrells is saying, "Hi, Alice. As a black woman running for president, will you open more places for women to be a voice, and things as from, and things as from as change in states?" All right, I'm not sure if I understand that well, but I see what you're trying to say, Carla. So bear that in mind, and then I'm going to ask you another question as well that you can answer both of them, back to back. So the other question is, I personally asked you this question the last time you were on the show, but there are people in the chat now that that didn't hear that, and they weren't here to hear when I asked you the question. Now the question is, Joe Biden is currently leading, and
Yes.
he is in favor of the people, especially the the black nation.
Afro-American.
Now, the question is, why? Why should we vote for you as opposed to Biden? What difference are you going to make? Is it going to be a case where, there has to be this one unique thing that you will use to attract the people to say, all right, I am going to, like, for instance, when Obama came in, he brought in this whole healthcare system, and people were glad to vote in the first, well, not the first black president, but for this generation, most people have seen the first black president. He was the first for some people of this generation. Now, as a female black president, what are you going to offer to United States that Joe Biden is not already offering? Why should we not vote for Trump again, not vote for Joe Biden, and choose Yancy Teague
Joe
as
Biden.
our United States president?
Well, that is a good question, and I think that I thank you for asking that question. One of the things about Joe Biden is that he doesn't have an agenda for Black people. I still have a problem with a president that says, well, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black enough. I have a problem with that because of the fact Black people, not only Black people, but all American people struggle. And if I am a president, what makes me different? One is that my uncle was a freedom fighter writer. He got killed in the 60s. So that makes me different. It makes me to fight more for injustice because my family over 60 years ago have not gotten justice for my uncle that was killed by white supremacists. And the other thing that makes me different is because the struggle for American people, but for Black people is real. I understand the struggle when you have to sacrifice your children and you a meal and your children's eat and you don't eat. I understand that. I've been through that. I understand what it feels like to have your lights turned off. Candles used to be my best friend. And as president, one of the things that I want to do, which I have not heard Joe Biden say at all, is homeless. We've got a very big population of homeless, and we've got to deal with that. And I want to take every abandoned building and make them affordable housing. The other thing that I did not hear Joe Biden say, and he has not said it, is to deal with small business. I believe in small business. I have a security business myself. I want to give business grants where they don't have to pay back, where they will be able to afford to keep their business open, and then they can afford to hire people. That's how you make the economy grow. Another thing I have not heard is to deal with senior citizens. Senior citizens medication is going up. It's not going down. I want to decrease the senior citizen medication from going up, and I want to increase their benefits. And then the other thing that I want to do is make sure we've had 4 presidents. We still have a city and a state, Flint, Michigan, still do not have clean drinking water in some parts of their town. I want to make sure that the people that lives in the trailer, the people that lives in the housing, that they will be able, especially in Flint, Michigan, they will be able to have clean drinking water. We've had 4 presidents that have not addressed that issue. That is a serious issue. We have to deal with that. And so that's what makes me different, because I understand that you have to put people first, and you have to be a leader, and you have to make sure that you can open up doors for doors that have been closed for so long.
Basically, the only thing that some of the people in the chat is only agreeing with one thing that you've said so far, and is that you want to open doors that have been closed for so long. But I think we want to know, what door exactly are we talking about here? Because we understand that I personally can say, all right, well, guys, please vote for TR NYERERE X as your next president, because I am going to open doors that have been closed for the past 29 years. Or I am going to open a door that has been slam closed by white supremacy, or whatever. Now, you have to explain exactly what doors are you going to open, and for whom? For whom exactly? Are you going to open these doors? Ruth Daly is saying that I don't agree with you. He's been in their own. Hold on. I don't agree with you. He's been in there with Obama for 8 years. She was also saying that she followed him all the way, and now she's saying, Miss, remember, he's the one that was there with Obama for 8 years, and the people had a good Obamacare. Now, she is in the medical system, of course, so she knows what she's talking about there. So we want you, as a matter of fact, I listen to what you say, I hear what you say, but I think we want a more clear light, or a more clear vision of because these are some of the things Obama said before he became president. The very same things that you say now, and more. And of course, during his 2 terms, I think Obama served 2 terms, right? If I'm correct, 8 years. Yeah. And within these two terms, of course, he fulfilled a few of the things he said, like health care and so forth and so on. But yet, they vote out Obama, and they brought in Trump. So, with that said, how do you think you could really make a difference opposed to what you're saying now? Because, of course, you're saying some things now that we've heard already. Now, we want you to say something that we have not heard. Now, there's a lot of things that is plaguing the country. We have seen where the conservatives, the white supremacy, we have the slave trade, we have the human trafficking, we have all kinds of things plaguing the United States. When it comes on to the deep state, when it comes on to the different groups that are affecting the United States, because what really happened, people spend a lot of time and focus on the little guy on the corner. The little guy in the store, the little guy over here and the little guy over there. And then the main focus is actually in government, because the little guy on the corner is taking instructions from people in government. So you have the I don't want to get into certain things right now. We have the CIA, we have the mafia, we have the deep state, we have the Freemason. And we know that the world is run by, well, not the world, but most of the things that we do in the United States is coming or trickling down from the Freemason organization. And most of the government is a part of the Freemason. And how are you going to clean this situation up? Because what we know is that one person is not enough to clean this situation, because this is going to just be your intention. You have a good intention for the people. You want to see change because of what you've seen in your years of existence. But What are you going to do to convince the people? What are you going to do to convince Congress that you are capable of making change? What are you going to do to convince these heads of government that will be there? You know, you will be the president, of course, but believe it or not, these people will be taking their documents and they will be reading them to you and say, okay, Yancy, this is what I suggest for the people. And even though you are the president, you're going to have the secretary and the vice president and the this and the that coming to you and say, well, we want to do this for the country tomorrow. We want to do this for the country next week. Now, what grounds are you going to stand on to say, I am not accepting that? This is what I am doing. Because you're going to have something better than what they're saying to fulfill a promise that will make the people happy. So what do you say? You know, and if you remember the question, no person can, hold on, no one person can get the job done. So you're right. So who are you planning to bring on your side? Who will be your backup person? What will be your backup plan? Who will be the group that is behind you? Now, I realize that you're focused on the church. You know, are you going to bring some church people in there to have prayer meeting? Are you going to have Bible studies in the White House? Is that your strategies to, I am not supposed to be laughing, but I'm just saying, you know, what are your plans to make the thing really better? And guys, if you have questions, please do ask them. I hope I will see them. And if I didn't see your question, please make sure you remind me of your question or keep typing your question until I notice it. Back to our presidential elect, Yancy Teague.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to do, first of all, anytime that you have a leader, that leader has to work with everyone. As being a leader of President of the United States of America, I will work with the U.S. Senate. I will work with the House of Representatives because I can't do it by myself. So you have to have a team, and the team have to decide that we have to work together. And that's the only way that you're going to bring forth good, that you work together. And that's what I'm planning on doing. Cleaning up. We have the CSI, as you said. It's going to take a lot to clean up. As my 4 years, if I'm elected, it's going to take more than 4 years. I'm going to have to do 2 terms because you have to remember, I am stepping into a lot of mess. I am not going to sit up here and tell you I'm a president that's going to promise things. I can't do that because then you will hold me accountable for those promises, and you should. But what I will say is that I'm going to do what I can do for the American people, and I will have a cabinet that will be full of people with a very lot of knowledge, and that can show American people that we can put American back together again. But most of all, me as president, I have to work with Congress. I have to work with the U.S. Senate. I have to work with the representatives, the House of Representatives, because I cannot do it by myself. I am not going to be a president that will dictate. I'm going to work together for the good and for the good of the American people. There's a lot of things that I want to do. One of the things that I cannot stress is to get homeless off the street. That has never been done with any president. I want to make that my first 100 days. America is too rich of a country to have people on the street, homeless. We should be embarrassed because most of our people that are homeless are our veterans. And so we are better than this and we can do something. So that's one of the things that's going to make me different than any other president, is because I'm actually going to do what I say I'm going to do. Even though people will fight me, I'm going to do what's best for the American people. And I will not stop until it's done. And remember, I will always have the American people first. But that is one of the things that I want to do, is to clear up the streets of homeless. The other thing that I want to do, we have to reform the police department. They need to be reformed. We cannot keep letting them put their knees on our neck. We cannot keep letting them abuse us and injustice keep going on. That's got to stop. Enough is enough. And that's why you have people protesting, because they're tired. We need a lot of more Harriets that ran 100 miles to free slaves. We need a lot of more Dr. King. And so those are the people that we need to bring this country forward. But we have to stand, and we have to stand on what's right. And one of the things that I know that's not right is police brutality. That is not right, and it will never be right. And we have to fix that. It's going to take some time to fix it, but it's got to be fixed. We cannot ignore it. And I'm going to be a president. I believe in law and order, but it starts with cleaning up the house. And you've got to clean up. You don't straighten up. You've got to clean it up. And that's what I want to do. But I want to deal with police brutality because it has been a long time, and it's time for a change. And we have to stand up, and we have to do something about it. And so that's what makes me different than Joe Biden. I have not yet saw or heard his plan for Black people. He does not have a Black agenda. He doesn't have that. And if he does, what is it? And I still have a problem. And if you can't see that problem, then we have to fix the problem so everybody can see it. Because I believe that anytime you have a president candidate that states that if you don't vote for me, that's like, to me, that's voter suppression. If you don't vote for me, then you're not Black enough. I would never say that as a candidate. I would never have said that. And so we cannot keep letting people do what they want to do or say what they want to say. That's the problem we have right now in the White House with number 45. He does what he says he do, and he doesn't care who he hurts. And people cannot keep doing that. You've got to have people accountable. This is America. And right now, we're not being Americans. And so that's why I said I'm different, because I will put American people first. And I do have a agenda for Black people. One of them is cleaning up the streets of homeless. The other one is to make sure that senior citizens are given every opportunity and every tax credit they can have, and then to make sure that their medication decrease versus increase. And then small business. Small business should be able to be part of America. They shouldn't have to worry about closing their doors, especially in a pandemic that we have now. We have so many businesses that have closed. So what are we going to do? Because they have to feed their family. My suggestion is to do a stimulus check to give $2,000 a month until the pandemic was over with. That's what I would suggest as being a president, but that has not been done. You're ready to put people back to work. You're ready to open schools. We cannot open schools. We cannot put people back to work. The essential workers, they need to have help too. We have to find a 24-hour care that will take care of essential workers here, because they have to work. And so we need to have some plans in place, and we need to have some actions for those plans. And as president, if I'm elected, that's what I'm planning on doing. I can't promise you the world, but what I can promise is that I can take the problems one day at a time to make this world a better place to live, because we said that this is America. So when is it going to get right? When is it going to get right for America? When is it going to get right for people of color? The only way it's going to get right for people of color is that injustice be done. And so the only way you do that is that you got to hold people accountable. You've got to reform to make America what it should be, where everybody can sit down at the table.
All right. We have some people disagreeing in the chat. They say they think you're beating around the bush a little bit. My question for you, you have seen Donald Trump served for a period of time. Now, in your book or in your judgment, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think Donald Trump has done in his time serving the United States?
I think some of the things that Donald Trump did, now some of the things I can't agree that he did was good for United States, and one of them was to make sure that we have stimulus check during this COVID-19, and to make sure that the country could be able to come back together and to take business and bring them back to the United States. Now, that's one of the things that I do agree that he did. But the other stuff that he's did, shutting down schools, locking people in cages, I don't believe in that. Telling a congressman, even Democrats that's in their city, that their cities are no good. I mean, what president does that? And then to threaten, well, if you don't open up when I tell you to open it, I'm going to hold funding. You can't have a leader to do that.
So Donald Trump said he is going to be cleaning the swamp. And he has certainly been cleaning the swamp. Do you believe that he has done a good job in cleaning the swamp? Do you believe he has done anything good for the time since the time that he's well? You mentioned the stimulus check, that is one thing that is good, but if that's the one thing that Donald Trump has done good, then I wouldn't want him to be serve as a president again. If that's the only thing that he has done, I wouldn't want to see him again as a president. So there has to be something. There has to be the reason why they vote him in the to begin with. So there has to be something that he's done within the time. Now, as it goes for Joe Biden, or Joe Biden as we call him, do you believe in him? You know, do you think that this man, let's say you didn't win the election, and what would you prefer? Would you prefer Donald Trump to do another term, or would you prefer to give Joe Biden a chance? Because based on your answer, then I guess we can determine if you would worth being the next president of the United States.
One of the things I believe that you shouldn't keep Donald Trump in. If we keep Donald Trump in, we're all going to be in trouble. You cannot have a president that think he's better than anybody, or treat people like they don't exist, or think that this is Burger King. He can have it his way. Donald Trump has destroyed America. He has brought hatred in America. You can see the cases. You take a look at Charlotte, when he said that those was good people. How can a good person run over or kill somebody that was only doing activist job? I can't see that. And so if you keep Donald Trump in, you're only going to make the rich richer. And, he's talking about cleaning up the swamp. Well, I think it needs to start with him. You have a man that has lied. Everything he says is a lie. You have a man that has cheated on his wife. You have a man that has went bankruptcy. You have a man that is a con artist. And so you have to remember where he came from. If you keep him in, our country is going to be worse than it is now. Joe Biden, on the other hand, if he doesn't get strong with the Black community, then you might as well keep Trump in, because Joe Biden, again, has not got an agenda for Black people. I have not seen it. Where is it? What is his agenda? Nobody on this line can tell me what his agenda is for Black people.
The chat. So what I'm going to do, instead of taking questions from the chat I'm going to open up the phone line. So if you want to call in and ask your question personally, so you can be more vocal about your question and you can address our president elect here, you will be given the chance. So the number right now is on the screen. You can call that number and you can ask your question personally to, you can call via WhatsApp, as well as you can call via, if you would wish to address our president, our presidential elect, If you would wish to do that, then there is a number that you can call, and we will certainly take the rest of the questions from there, because some of the questions is running away past me while I am looking. All he did, why they vote him in, it's because of the wall he's building. So somebody is saying that they voted Donald Trump in because of the wall that he was building. Now, we want to see transparency. And even though I read your the I read your I read the page on your website and what you say in the introduction. All right, we have our first call. We have our first caller in, so we will take this call and see if this person has anything to say about what you said before. And so let's welcome our first caller. Welcome. This is the TR Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you for the welcome. This is Tiffany. Hi. I'm calling because, yes, baby girl. Okay, give me 1 minute. I have a question. You just ate. So this is my question is, what are your plans on helping to ensure that
I didn't hear the question.
jobs are not being automated by robots and machine technology? That's the first question. And then the second question is, what are your plans?
Hold on. Can you ask the first question again, please? Thank you.
Yes. So the first question is, what are your plans to help increase the number of jobs that stay in the U.S., basically decreasing unemployment, and that stay in the U.S. with people and not just robots? A lot of machine learning is taking over people's jobs. The second question is, what are your plans in helping the economy move forward, given this?
All right, Tiffany, hold on a minute, because some people are saying they can't hear you. So let me try this one more time. Sorry for that. Guys,
Okay.
guys, let me know if you can hear Tiffany clearly. Can you say you can?
Is this better?
Oh yes, that's much better. That's much better.
Okay, I had my earpiece in. Sorry about that. So I had two questions. The first question is, well, first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you, TR, for having us be able to call in and participate. So my first question is, what are your plans in ensuring that unemployment decreases in the U.S.? And then the second question is, what are your plans to help move the economy forward and decrease the number of people getting the virus? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Thank you for calling. All right, so that was Tiffany calling, and I hope you heard her question, and now you can give the answer. So, President, the floor is yours again.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany, for that question. One of the plans to increase jobs in the U.S. is simply just keep them here in the U.S. I want to be able to open up factories. I mean, because a lot of times we've had a lot of factories to be closed down. I want to reopen factory. I want to reopen skilled training jobs like carpenter work, tire factory, manufacturing stuff here right in the U.S. And that will keep the unemployment rate down if you keep the jobs here in U.S. And then if you make it possible that we can create more jobs by doing skilled training job. And if you have a skilled training job, whether it's a carpenter, sewing, or any of those things, you can make a living out of that. We used to do that back in the day. And so I think that we need to bring that back. We need to bring manufacturers back. We need to bring labor work back. And keep everything in U.S. versus shipping them out to China.
Tell me something. What do you know about What do you know about the deep state, Kamal? You know, what do you know about the democratic movement being the deep state? Do you know anything about the deep state? Do you know anything about the democratic movement being a huge part of the deep state? Do you believe that the whole thing with George Floyd was a part of their satanic movement or a part of the Masonic movement to get the attention of the people to move towards voting for the democratic movement? So, what do you know about the deep state and the cabal? What do you know about Democrats being aligned with the deep state? You know, what is your experience, or what do you know about this?
Let me just say this to make it clear. I've been a Democrat all my life, and every time I voted Democrat because that's handed down in my family. I decided to run the independent ticket is because I wanted to fight for the American people, because of the fact Democrats and Republicans has not fought lately for people of color or for people, period. Now, the George Floyd case has been an awakening for all of us. And I think that this was a movement so that people can wake up, not for Democrats to wake up, but this is for the young people to say, hey, we're not taking this anymore. And I think that with the George Floyd case, it was a movement to wake everybody up, but definitely to make sure that the Democrats in the swing states and in the tough state will say, hey, we need to do something about this. We need to stop arguing with the Republican. We need to get on the side of right, because one thing I know for sure, we only have one time to get this right. And what better way to get it right? I'm not saying that George Floyd, the way he died was the right way, but the way he died woke up a lot of people. And one thing that it did wake up is our young people, because we've got young people that are voting. The young people are our generation. And so this was a wake-up call for Democrats. This was a wake-up call for Republicans. This was a wake-up call for everyone, but definitely for the Democrats to say, hey, we've got to get it together. We have to stick together, and we have to open some doors. And as I said earlier, that has been closed for a long time. And we've got to demand that justice be done. A good example of that is reparation. Nobody has made reparation a national holiday. I'm going to make reparation a national holiday, Juneteenth a national holiday, because we have been in slavery for so long, and it's time for a change. And if we cannot come together, the question is, when are we going to come together? It doesn't take Democrat, it doesn't take Republican, it takes the American people. And we have to listen to the American people, because the American people is what is said to be done, and that they come first. And then until we put the American people first, nothing is going to change. We have to change some things. And one of the things we have to change, and which woke us up with the George Floyd case, this was a wake-up call to say, hey, we have to get it together. We have to make sure that justice is done, and especially justice is done for Afro-American people or people in color.
We have about another 14 minutes to go on this stream, but before we go, there's another question in the stream. What would you have done if, all right, let me read the question. I'm not sure if you can see the question on the screen. What would you have done if you was the president about blacks getting killed? All right, what would you do as the president about blacks getting killed? Bear that question in mind, because I think I have another question that I want to ask you. I think I have another question that I want to ask you. Oh my goodness, I think I read. You know what? Go ahead and answer this question, because I forget the question that I wanted to ask you. So just go ahead and.
Thank you. If I was president with blacks being killed, well, you have to realize that blacks are being killed. Innocent black people are getting killed by police officer. You can take the Sterling case. I can't breathe. George Floyd. I can't breathe. You can take Breonna Taylor. You know, anytime a police shoots 8 times and just random shooting, there's a problem there. And so one thing that you have to do is that you got to reform the police department. And you got to demand them to stop killing us. And that's the first thing I will do is reform the police officer. And as I said earlier, Dick Gregory said it better. Give them something that they can't lose. Well, if they get fired, they can't feed their family. So they're not going to keep killing us. And so we've got to reform the police department with the police department with unarmed people.
Okay. All right, so we have the democratic movement, and that is a movement that has been in existence for decades. Now we also have the Republicans, and that was in existent for decades. We have the communists, we have this, we have that. What will your movement be called? Do you have a name for your movement? I am sure you will want to bring some of your own people in, in the Senate. You don't want to just go take on, because as far as I'm concerned, if you go in as president and you won, and you take the same people on, you go in and you start to work with the same Senate, the same people that was there, you, for as far as I'm concerned, I don't think you're going to make much of a difference if you go in there. Let's say you went in with your vice president and you went in with your PR, and these are the only 3 people that is going into a corrupt system. I personally don't believe that there will be much of a change. You will just go in there and adopt to the same nonsense that they were doing all these years, because it's a movement. The Democratic Party is a movement, and they have a certain standards that they live up to. They have a mandate, they have a plan, it's a movement. And so the same people that has been there for years is the same people that you're going to win as a president, and you're going to go into the White House to wine and dine with the same people who has been in there giving trouble, and you will just join them and do the same thing that Obama did, Donald Trump did, Reagan did, and President Bush, and all the people that have been doing. Because as far as I'm concerned, all right, you know what? Let's forget that. As far as I'm concerned, politicians are trained to do the same things. So even when they're on either side fighting against each other, and they come on the press conference and they curse at each other, and they say, I will do this and you not doing that, you didn't do that and you didn't do that. But guess what? At the end of their press briefing sometime, they go backstage and have coffee together and laugh and said, oh, that was a great speech tonight. They compliment each other backstage or behind the scenes. But in front of the people, this one is saying, this is what I'm going to do. And guys, you shouldn't vote for Madam President or Mr. President because they didn't do that, and they didn't do this, and they didn't do that, and they didn't do this. But after the show, they go backstage and say, oh my, you did well on that presentation tonight. They become friends. I am telling you something that I see when I was in Jamaica. I am not saying it's the same thing here, but I am convinced that it is not far from that. When I was in Jamaica, and while the government officials come on stage and they blast each other and they separate the people and they even make some people hate each other, after a seminar or after some of their conference, they go backstage and they talk and they shake hands and they are friends, and they take the money of the people and they have big dinner, and they go on their yachts and they have big time out. They go on, these people have a great life. And while the country and the people that vote for them suffer, they pretend like they are with the people, but they are really for themselves. Now, my thing is that how are you going to change what is already there for the past 90 years, for the past 100 decades, for the past whatever. I say the people that study politics have a way because they were trained by the same system. All politicians were trained by the same system. So they bring the same thing to the table in a different color. So let's say the Democrats bring orange to the table. When the Republicans win, they bring orange to the table and paint it black. It's the same orange with a different color. And this is what the government system has been doing. So you've been fighting and you say, all right, guys, so I am going to change. I am going to be the person to change the country. I am going to look into white supremacy. I am going to look into demolishing this and demolishing that and demolishing that and demolishing that. But that's what you're saying now. When you go in front or when you've been handed the files as the government, they hand them to you. Here, Yancy Teague, we present you the United States. Now, what I want you to do right now is to not speak as a president to be, but I want you right now to speak as the president. Convince these people that, oh, I am happy I vote for her. That's what I want you to do right in this moment right now. Convince these people that, you know, we vote for the right person. Let's forget about November 3rd, the election. And let's look into now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you our newest elected president, Yancy Teague. All right, the people are yours, and yours are the people. Go right ahead, Madam President.
Thank you. I love that introduction. I love that. One of the things I have to say is that when you clean up a yard, and I'm going to use a yard for an example, you have to clean up every part of that yard. So going into the White House, you cannot have the same people there. You have to, as Donald Trump and everybody else, you have to clean swamp. And that means bringing in people with good ideals, people that will bring love versus hate, Christian people. And so my cabinet would be filled with a variety. I would have Latino, Hispanics to deal with the Hispanic and the immigration. I would have Christians because we have to deal with that. You have to bring love versus hate. You have to bring peace versus war. And we've been in war so long. And so the only way that you're going to change that is that you've got to bring a person in like myself that will say, it is time for a change. Now, my motto is a movement for a better tomorrow, because we have to have a better tomorrow. We cannot continue to keep going the way we're going now. We have problems in our school system. We have problems in housing. We have problems in education. We have problems in funding. We definitely have a big problem in police brutality. And so these are the things that's got to change. We cannot keep them the same. How do you change that? The only way that you can change that is that you got to reform America. And that's what I will do. I will reform America. And it starts at the top. It starts in the House. It starts in the House of the Senate, the U.S. representative, your Congress. It starts there. And then you all have to be able to sit at the table and come together like American people should, like citizens should, and think about moving a country forward versus keeping us backwards. Our chains have been broken. We're not going back. This is a new day and this is a new era. And the only way that you're going to have a new day, you have to have a mindset with new ideals, fresh ideals, and a way to come together. You've got to come together with love first. If I cannot love my neighbor like I love myself, how can I bring a country together? You have to bring Democrats together. You have to bring Republican together. And this bickering between all parties have to stop. We have to decide what's right. We have to decide what's wrong, but we have to decide it together, because when we work together, that's the only way that the country will come together. You've got to do it through power. You've got to do with it by working together. I can't do this by myself, and I will be fooling you to say that I can. I have to work with Congress. I have to work with the Senate. I have to work with the U.S. representative, because that's the only way that you're going to come together. Everybody can have different ideas, but we can come to the table a different way. But if we come together, no matter how that way is, then we can come together for the good. And that's what has to happen here. We have to have a new America. And the only way you're going to have to do it, you have to clean up. You got to reform. And it starts right there in the White House. You can't have crooked people in the White House in order to move people forward. And I believe that you've got to have Christianity into the White House, because we haven't had that. Just like we took prayer out of the school. I want to put prayer back into the school, because let me tell you, when prayers was in the schools, our country was a little better. When the Boys and Girls Club was around, we kept people, girls and boys, off the streets dealing with drugs and stuff like that. And so these are the things, as a new leader, is what I want to bring. These are the things as a president that I want to bring. I am not going to be a president that's going to separate us, because we've been separated for so long. Because I believe that every color counts. I believe that every religions count, because we are what we say we are. We are America. Then it's about time that we act like this is the land of the free for everybody, not just for the rich, but give everybody the opportunity to say, hey, I am an America. I'm proud to be here. And the only way that a person can be proud to be here is unless you got to put them in the equation. And when you can put them in the equation and we come together, then they will feel that they belong to America. And we all should be able to feel that we belong here, because this is supposed to be the land of the free. And as President of the United States of America, if I am elected, that is exactly what I'm planning to do, is bringing people together, bringing love versus hate, bringing peace, and especially in our ally world, we've got to come together. We've got to bring people together in order to function. Because as I said before, we don't have many opportunities to get it right. If you put a president in there that's willing to fight to get it right, that's the chance that that person has. And I want to fight, and I want to fight for the American people, but I want to fight to make sure that we have a country that people can be proud of to come to our country, because right now people think we are a joke. So I want to have a country that everybody belongs to, that no one person is left out. And so I say to you, if you want to change, let's make it together. Let's stop police brutality. Let's stop homeless. Let's stop hunger. Let's stop rapists and sex trafficking. We can put a stop to that. And the only way we can put a stop to that, we've got to come together. We have to love our neighbor like we love ourselves. Are we our brother's keepers? Yes, we are. When it comes to building America, when it comes to building a country. And that's what we need to do in order to move this country forward. We need to rebuild and reform America so that everyone can be able to sit down at the table and sing the song, My country, 'tis of thieves. And until that happens, we will always be separated if we cannot come together. And first of all, you have to have a leader that is going to put you together, that will listen to the people of America, who will not separate people, who will bring people together. And that's how you move the country forward. And it starts with love, and it starts with bringing togetherness versus division. And when we can do that, we can move forward. And as President of the United States of America, that is what I'm planning on doing. I'm planning on waking up every morning fighting for the American people, working with Congress, working with the U.S. Senate, working with the House of Representatives, working with everyone, so that we can bring a country together that has been divided so long.
Okay, Madam. Okay, Madam President. All right, so we have about 6 minutes to go in this show. I am going to run against you as president tonight. So we are going to run. I am the president for the United States, and you are. No. All right. Okay. Forget that. Forget that. You spoke about reparation, and of course, many of the black people in the United States, they speak about reparation day and night and day and night. And I would say probably 90 to 95% of American black people believe in reparation. I am probably the only person in America right now that don't really believe so much in reparation. Now, when slavery ended, when I didn't want, guys, I didn't want to laugh tonight at all, you know. If I now listen me carefully, guys. Listen me carefully. I think I'm the only person in the United States that don't believe too much into reparation. Now, when slavery supposedly ended, because as far as I am concerned, slavery has not yet ended. That's just my belief. They give us a story to say, all right, slavery has ended and this, that, and blah, blah, and whatnot. In my book, slavery has not yet ended. Now, one of the tricks that these people use to enslave the people is to create law. These people create laws that will have these people commit a crime. So even things that was not a crime before now become a crime. So that's why we now have petty crime. You know, if you're walking down the street, you can be arrested because you're black. If you have your hands in your pocket, you could be arrested for having fingernails on your fingers. Now, in those days when they said slavery ended, in those days when they said slavery ended, and, you know, black people now have a right to live as a citizen of the United States, because back then, no black man could be a citizen of the United States, even though the Caucasian man was not the first man in the United States. And even though the land was taken from the Native Americans, we realize that people have lost their rights, you know, here and there. But a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know that the Queen of England is still collecting. You see, she owned, or her people owned some of the slaves. And when the slaves were free and she wasn't, you know, they didn't get to sell the slaves like they used to make money. So selling slaves used to be a business, and they used to make money from selling slaves. Now, when that business was demolished and you know, slavery supposedly abolished, what happened is that they started paying her for the loss of her slaves. And until today, she's still earning from not having a slave, quote unquote. That's what they think is going on. But, I am saying, let's say we were given reparation. Let's say we were granted reparation. And Queen and her party and all those people from France and, in Europe who plays a big part in the slave trade in the 17th and 18th and whatever century. Let's say they give us back our money. What are we going to do? Because as far as I am concerned, so many people still do not know how to handle wealth. If you give some people money right now, they will go buy a Porsche. They will buy a big house. They will buy a yacht. They will buy a private jet. A lot of people don't know what to do with money. So if you give these people money, I am not sure that we will have a better country. I think we need equal rights. I personally would not fight so much for reparation because people have been not educated enough to know what to do with $10. You give a man $10, he takes it and he buy a cigarette, he buy a flask of rum, he goes and buy a sneakers, he goes drinking. You give this man $50,000, he take it and he buy a new car, he gets 50 girls and he goes on a vacation and he's spending a happy time. You give another man. There is few people in the United States as a black man that will do something constructive if he's given 100,000, if he's given $1 million, if he's given. So talking about reparation, if they give us what they took from us and they decide to pay us off what they took from us, a lot of us don't know what to do next, where to go next. So I would say we need to come together and strategize as a people, as a family, educate each other, and make sure that we have a positive movement of people who will, as a matter of fact, speaking of positive movement on people, there's a group right now in the United States. I don't remember what the name is. I think it is there's a group of people that is formed right now as a all right. It's a bunch of ex-soldiers. I'm trying. So if somebody remember the name, you can write it in the chat. It's a bunch of ex-soldiers that has formed a group called the NSR, NIARN, something of the sort. I don't remember the name. I really don't remember the name. But they formed this organization and they are fighting back. So no longer they're accepting the police brutality on the black nation. So before they even think of running as a government or running as a politician, they already formed a group to make a change because they have been killed so long that they want to make a change. A black man is not going down without a fight. No, what I am saying to you, President Yancy Teague, what do you have in place right now? Like, right now, you are going to be the president. What do you have in place right now as the president? All right, I have my Bible and my songbook or my hymnal. I am going to be praying for the people. I'm not sure if you will get 2 votes if you're going to pray, because my mother has been praying for the past 40 years for the government. As a matter of fact, this is my father's prayer. My father prayed in all of his prayers, God, remember the peace of Jerusalem. God, we pray for the politicians, we pray for the doctors, we pray for the nurses, and he has been praying like this for 40 years, and we have not seen change. So, prayers in school. All right, the country is better. All right. The elderly has been fed. The frontline people who are working on the front line, their pay has been increased because we are praying. Oh, yes, we are praying. Okay, we are also praying. So that means the corruption is now under the carpet, or better yet, outside the door. Okay, we are praying so there is no longer a wall between the United States and Mexico. All right, we are praying so. Let me tell you something. I'm not sure if you saw the speech. Well, I think you saw it because you pulled a part from the speech. Joe Biden has given his speech. Pretty impressive. He had said one line that we might not agree with, but the rest of his statement is truly impressive. Now, what is Yancy Teague going to tell the people tonight is vote night. We are going to vote for you tonight. As a matter of fact, I hope everybody in the chat is listening, because we're going to vote for Yancy Teague tonight as our president. And so she's going to make her final statement. We have gone 3 minutes over the time. I took the time. I should not be talking so much tonight. I was supposed to listen, but I took the time and, make a mess of myself. So can she see the chat? I hope she's seeing the chat, because, hold on. You're asked if you're seeing the chat because people are saying all kinds of things in the chat. So what I would want for you to do right now is to make your final statement. We are about to close the show off. The show has gone further than what I have thought it would have been. And so for me personally, I am a God-believing, God-fearing type of person. And to be honest, going into the White House as a Christian, going into the White House and, bringing new legislations, going in the White House and bringing prayer into the school, I am not sure if that is enough to change the United States of America. There are so many people here in the United States that don't believe in God. There's so many that don't believe in Jesus. And there is nothing that you're going to do to convince anybody that God is doing anything for anybody. As a matter of fact, this is my personal belief. My personal belief is that God has done his job already. That's just my personal belief. I think when God created heaven and earth, and when God did what he did, God had done his job. And then God said to the people, here is 2 roads, choose one. God said, here is a land, here is a platform, here is a world, here is a earth. Go ye out and, be fruitful and multiply. So I personally believe that it is now mankind's job to do their job, because God has done his job already. So what I am saying now, if you pray until your hair fall to the ground, a lot of things won't change. As a matter of fact, I believe if the world's greatest prayer warrior go on their knees and start praying and said, God, change the White House, shuffle it, God, and remove those people out there because the White House is so corrupt, the crickets will be chirping, because God has already done God's job, and it is now our time to do our job. So as a president, as a people, a lot of the changes that is going to be made has to be a collective effort. TR is not going to make that change. Of course, the change begins with us. The change begins with TR. The change begins with Yancy Teague. But at the end of the day, my change is not going to change the world. My change only change my home. And of course, I want to end by saying the microphone is more powerful than the M16 rifle, because an M16 rifle can kill only but so many people. The microphone and your word, which will be your bond, can destroy so many people as well as it can build so many people. What do you have to build the people tonight as your final statement, as your final paragraph or sentence or your book or your presentation? What are you going to tell the people finally to convince them that on April 3rd, no, that's SF Rose's birthday, November 3rd, 1920, oh, sorry, it is 2020. How, excuse me, I'm sometimes a comedian. What are you going to do because we understand that you've said a lot of things. You've said a lot of things, but many of us can't pinpoint exactly what you're going to change so we can vote for you. You have said a lot of things that we believe in. You have said a lot of things that we understand and comprehend very well. But at the end of saying all that you have said, we don't think it is enough reason to go out and vote for you as opposed to bidding. Now, the situation is, a lot of people will, no, let me tell you this. A lot of people, when they were voting for Obama, they were saying, all right, we finally have a black president. It is going to work because he's black. And Obama was worse than some of the presidents that we've seen before. So because he's black, didn't change anything. So I am convinced that you being a female, you being a black African American female, will not necessarily change. It would make us happy to see a different face. It would make us happy to believe that this is going to bring forth change in our country. Now, I have one last thing. I've said one last thing a million times ago, but this now is the very last thing I'm going to say before I leave. Now, Africans, and of course, even in America, we still see people crying how this guy from Napoleon, or whatever his name was, from Europe, went to Africa and killed thousands of black people. We talk about the guy from England who went to Africa and killed thousands of black people. But guess what? Guess what? They didn't do the killing themselves. As a matter of fact, these guys went to Africa and employed black people to kill themselves. So, of course, some of the soldiers from Africa, they were employed by these white killers to kill the black man. So that means the black man was destructive to its own self. I am saying, are you going to be that person who the White House, the Congress, the this, that, blah, 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 blah. Biden. All right, Biden. All right, TR, why do you call him Biden? I just wanted to call him Biden because I'm Jamaican. All right, let me, forgive me for calling Biden. He's Biden. All right, Biden. Now, when you go in, how are we sure that they are not going to use you as a face? Because that's what we've seen. I'm not sure if you know. When what's his name?
Website of my stand.
What's this medicine guy name again? Good God.
Go to what I stand for.
What's the name of this guy again? The name of this guy that is responsible for pharmaceutical. What's his name again? Pharmaceutical guy. The head of pharmaceutical. What's his name again? Oh my God. Why? I talk about him so many times. Why am I not remembering his name? Oh gosh, his name is right there and I can't remember it. Somebody please remind me of his name quickly before we get out of time. No, not Dr. Fauci. The other one. Not Dr. Fauci. The next one. The one that works alongside Dr. Fauci. Gosh, what's his? Bill Gates from hell. Thank you very much. We're talking about Bill Gates. When Bill Gates went to Africa, Bill Gates did not go to Africa and inject the people and give them the pills and give them the whatever they are doing. He go and he spoke to a representative from Africa, and so the African became the face of Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates. So you didn't see Bill Gates walking into the homes and doing this and doing that. The same black people was the same people who destroyed the people in Africa. Now, don't you think they might use you as a face to destroy the remaining population in the United States? How are you going to stand against a group of people? Now, at the end of the day, you are only Yancy Teague with a voice. When the people who have been studying politics for 1,000 years, and they have their masters and their PhDs and their this, that, and whatnot, and they have their people, how are you going to stand against these people? What amount of strength do you have? What backative do you have? What people do you have? Are you strong enough? Can you convince enough people to be on your side to do the takeover? Because, of course, they will trample you like they have trampled other government entities over the years. Obama did not last in there, and a lot of people did not last in the government head and in Congress. What are you going to do to stand up as the first black woman? Do you have the strength? Do you have the backative? What do you have to go up against the forces of darkness? These strong people, these people who have the money. All right, let's start with the thing that they have used to destroy the American black people, so to speak. The black Americans don't own businesses. They don't own the big enterprise. They don't own the things that bring the money in the country to build the economic. Now, how much do you have to contribute? Because we have been destroyed by monetary fund. Now, look who is funding the politicians. Look who. Bill Gates has been funding the Democratic movement for years. He has put more. Bill Gates has donated more to the Democratic movement than he has donated to the Republican. Now, if somebody asks what side is he on, nobody is sure what political side he's on. But when we do our research, we see that he has dumped a lot of funds in the Democratic movement. So that means because they have the background of a Bill Gates funding them, then they are strong. Now, who is funding Yancy Teague to make her strong? Because I'm telling you, without money, it's going to be hard to stand up there. It's going to be hard to stand up there. What are your plans to make a change in the monetary system? What are your plans to fund the elderly? In 4 years, I'm not sure if you're going to accumulate enough to build shelters for the homeless. So even though you want to shelter the homeless, you want to get the homeless off the street, what are you going to put into place to fund the homeless to get them into a shelter? That's my question, and this is where I will rest my case. If anybody else have any question, they can pose their question, but this is where I am finished with my presentation and, of course, my final question. So I know I've said a lot, and you have a lot to respond to, but no, of course, you are the Prime Minister. No, the President. You are Madam President, so of course you can manage everything that I've said and everything that everybody has to say. So thank you again for coming, and I want to say thanks to everybody who has been participating in the chat. So now it's your floor again. Go right ahead and feed the people. The people are yours. You are the President of the United States. Go ahead and feed the people. The people, here is our President, Yancy Teague. Yancy Teague, here is the people.
Well, thank you for that. That is a mouthful that you said. One thing I can say is that I believe in God, and I know that God can change a lot of things. One thing I do want to say is that I can't promise the world. You speak of Bill Gates and all of these rich people that have money. Yes, they do. But I believe that the people have the money and the power. And you can show that money and the power on November the 3rd. We have to show rich people that it's not about money. Because if you keep letting the same people be in office, nothing really changes. We have to ask ourselves, can a white man walk in a black man's shoe? That's a good question. And I don't believe he can, because they don't know the struggle of Black people. They don't know the struggle of how to survive. I don't have Bill Gates' money. I don't even have Donald Trump's money. But what I do have is the belief and the trust in the people, to let the people know that this is your election. We cannot be bought. We could not stand by and says, we're going to let them continue to treat us any kind of way and do what they want to do because of money. Money is the root of all evil. I believe that. And it's been shown through Donald Trump. Money has brought people places, and we have to stand up and say, your money is not good here. It is the people that matters. It's the people that count. And I believe that the people can make a difference on November the 3rd. We have to put down our pride and say, we want to change things. You said that change will never come. Well, Sam Cooke said a song, a change is going to come. I believe in that change. I believe in Sam Cooke, but it's up to the people to decide what they want. If you say that Joe Biden is the right person, why is Joe Biden the right person? Because he was Obama's vice president and he did with Obama. Is that the reason to vote for him? So you give me a reason why you should vote for him. I can give you plenty of reasons why not to vote for him. One of the reasons why, again, and I keep saying that, where is his agenda for Black people? I haven't heard of it. And yes, he said one thing in his speech and he made a good speech, but the one thing that have to keep sticking with me is that this is a form of voter suppression. We've been through a lot of voter suppression. And so anytime that you have a president candidate that says, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black enough, to me, that's voter suppression. And so you have to have a president that will not put you through voter suppression, that will let you know that a change can come if you fight for that change. Things are not going to be easy. We have to fight for what we want. We've been fighting for over 400 years and nothing has changed. But now is a time to change. That has been demonstrated to us with the new millennium. When they're protesting, they're saying that they're not taking it anymore to stand back. They say that they want to change. And the change has to start within ourselves. It has to start with our community. We have to stop killing our own. When we stop killing our own, then people will respect us. And then that's when we can change. And so I'm telling you, as a president, I will fight for you. I will wake up every morning and fight for you. We cannot continue to battle a field for injustice. We must fight. We must come together. We must pull together. And when we can do this, we can bring our country to a better place. And the time is now. I love America and I love American people. And I believe that when you have people that can come together, we can make things new. We can move things forward. It doesn't matter where we are now, but it matters where we're going to go. It matters if you believe in hope. I tell you to vote for me for a change. Well, you say, why should I vote for you? Well, if you saw George Floyd, that's enough to vote for somebody that believes in justice. If you saw Sterling, I can't breathe, the same thing George Ford said, that's enough to vote for somebody to believe in justice and believe that there's a change. If you saw what Harriette Tubman did, she ran 100 miles to free slaves. That's enough to vote, to say for a person that believes in justice. If you saw Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin before Rosa Parks, 9 days before, 9 months before, when she refused to give up her seat for a white woman because she was tired, that's enough to vote for Yancy Teague, who believe that justice must be justice. That's enough. When you go down your street and you can't even jog and you get killed by white supremacists, that's enough to say, hey, I want to change. I believe in Yancy Teague. I'm going to reform the criminal justice law, the 3-strike law for nonviolent offenders. I'm going to change that because I was with a person that spent 34 years. Let me repeat that again. 34 years for killing enslaving, for slaughtering a white woman that he did not do. His 34 years was taken away from him. I believe in the project for people, for Innocent Project. I want to build more of that so that we can get people that's been unjustly wrong. I believe in reform in the healthcare for universally group healthcare. I believe in cleaning up the streets. And I know that I can't do it all in 4 years, but I can do it in 8 years because I believe that everybody deserves to not to be on the street. I believe in small business and farmers, giving them grants. I believe in raising the minimum wages for $17 an hour. I believe in allowing student loans to be included in bankruptcy. I believe in free grants for the communities, for outreach program, for churches, for ministers, and for pastors to go back to get their education in theology. I believe in stricter gun law. I want to make gun 21 years old before you can purchase any type of ammunition, because we have to remove the guns and the rifles off the streets. Our children have the right to live the American dream. Our children have the right to say, I am somebody. Our children has the right to say one day, because a lady named Yancy Teague made it possible for me to be president of the United States of America, and I can be that person. And so I believe in holding gun dealers responsible for selling guns to minors, and to give gun Smith a check for purchasing new firearms. I believe in free health care for single parents, especially those who are making less than $65,000 a year because of the cost of living. For teachers, I believe in giving them a raise. Truck drivers, I believe in giving them a raise. Cab drivers, I believe in giving them a raise. Essential workers, I believe in giving them a raise and giving them health care that they did not have. And that's why you should vote for Yancy Teague. I believe that healthcare plan and medical plan needs to be unemployment for essential workers. I believe in free skill trainings from non-workers, reform the real estate law to make homes affordable and to stop foreclosure. I believe in lowering bail for non-violent offenders in the Criminal Justice Act. Reparation, I believe in reparation in June 10th. Now, we've passed reparation. It expired on June the 1st. But what I want to do with that bill is to make it a national holiday, is to put it in the curriculum so our children can learn about it, and to make sure that they will know what happened to our ancestors. I believe in making museums so that we can have that, because of reparation, because they will never be able to give us trillion millions of dollars that they owe us, but we can build stuff. I believe in reparation so that we can have tax free, so that we can pay our houses out and we can send our children to college. So that's why I ask you to vote for me, because reparation, I want to put it in school curriculum. I believe in putting prayer back in the school, free lunches and daycare for poor families and poverty family, free transportation for senior citizens, and restore the right for non-violence offender. I believe in that. And so that's why you need to vote for Yancy Teague, because I believe in change, and I will fight for change, not for me, not for my family, but for every family, every American family. And it's going to take not only me, it's going to take everybody to say, hey, we believe in change. And if you give me that chance, I will fight for you. We can make that change, and we can make it together. I will clean up the House and the government by replacing it with people of different nationality to move the country, because that's the only way that you're going to move it. And I believe that when you have a president, you need to have a president that will listen to you and who will fight for you. I believe, as being an independent, write my name on the ballot. Yancy Teague's 2024 change. Now, I gave you all the reasons why you should vote for me. Now, the question becomes to you, do you really want that change? Or do you really want to see the same political people in office? Because let me tell you something. I'm going to the trailers. I'm going to poverty areas. I'm going to, as Donald Trump called, the shithole places. I'm going there to try to make a difference. I'm going to Flint, Michigan, who has been without clean water among 4 presidents. I'm going there to try to make a difference, to try to talk to people. I want to make sure that essential workers are taken care of when we have a pandemic or any other crisis, that they will be the first one to be taken care of. We will give that stimulus check. And if we have a pandemic, I believe that everybody should have $2,000 a month until any type of pandemic is over with. And that's what I will do for president. And so I'm asking you to make a difference on November the 3rd. If you want to see a change, I cannot do this change by myself. It takes a village, it takes people, and it takes every America. You got to believe. I believe in you, and I'm asking you to believe in me. Give me a chance to help change America. I won't do it in one cycle. I'm going to have to do it in 2 cycles. But on my first 100 days, you can see a change. And one of the changes going to be is reforming police brutality, because it's got to stop. And if we don't take a stand, it will never stop. They will continue to put their knees on our neck for another 8 minutes and 45 seconds. That could have been my brother. That could have been your brother. That could have been your father. That could have been your son. And enough is enough. And the only way that you're going to change is that you got to change with having a president that has a heart for love. Because anytime a president wake up with hatred in their heart, take away medication and Medicare for people when he know they're going to die, you got to mourn for him. Anytime you have a president that wants to shut down the government because he can't have it his way, you've got to pray for him and remove him. Anytime you got a president that said that the people that killed in Charlotte, South Carolina was good people, we have a problem. That's not normal. You've got to remove that person. Anytime that you have a president that says people are that's in the Democratic area, their cities are a mess. And anytime you got a president that will call NFL players names that their mothers did not call them, you've got a problem. And as long as you have a problem, you've got to remove that problem. And so that's why you've got to have a person like Yancy Teague, who believe in fighting, who will wake up every morning fighting, who will work with Congress, who will work with the U.S. Senate, who will work with the House, and who will bring this country together, because I believe in a change. I believe in American people. And no matter how much money you have, it's the people that has the money. It's the people that has the power. It's the people can say that this election belongs to me because I want to change. It's the people that can say no more. We've done it. We're not doing it anymore. It's time to take a stand. It's time to fight for injustice. It's time to have a seat at the table. And that's the only way that we're going to come together. And so I tell you to fight, to vote, but vote for somebody, not because of the color of my skin, but because I earned the respect of the American people, because I will fight for you. I was brought up in the political arena. I told you the story about my uncle being killed by white supremacists, ran off the road. And can you imagine his life gone at the age of 21 because he wanted to fight for American people? He was lying in the back of an ambulance. Back then, they called it the curse, with blood in a puddle of blood. Time he got to the hospital, he was dead. The doctor didn't even look at him because back then, color didn't matter. Life for Black people didn't matter. I don't want another family member to go through what my family went through. And by the way, my uncle that got killed at 21 still have a living sister today. She never will know the truth about her uncle. But if I run this race, I can bring change. And that's why I'm fighting for change, because of what my uncle went through. He fought for people. It didn't matter about color. It didn't matter about where they came from. He just wanted to have peace. He wanted to have love, and he wanted everybody to be treated the same. And that's what I want. I want every America to be able to feed their family. I want every America could say, I can walk out my door and don't have to worry about my child getting shot. I want every America could say that I've got a job because I want to bring jobs to America. I want the central workers to say, hey, I can have unemployment, but most of all, I can have insurance and I can have a paycheck. If I can't get to work, at least my bills will be paid. And that's what I'm bringing to America. And so that's why I tell you to vote for somebody that will fight for you. Vote for somebody that will believe in change. And on November the 3rd, I ask you to write my name in, Yancy Teague, for the difference, and let people know it's not about money, but it's about the power of the people. And the power of the people can bring this country together, because this election is yours, but you've got to want to make the change. I can't make the change by myself. I can't be on this wagon by myself. I need your help. I need your help to help me to put a new office in a office. I need your help to make me change what we have been wanting for a long time. I need your help to bring love back into the country. I need your help to bring togetherness versus division back into the country. And so I say to you, please visit my website, YancyTeague2020.com, and let's bring about a change for November the 3rd. If it's not for me, it's for your children and your children's children, so they can say there was a woman who stood and wanted to fight for a change, and her name was Yancy Teague. And so I leave that with you tonight. Can you have a seat at the table, or can a white man walk in your shoes? Is the struggle for American people real? It's real. And you have to have a president to believe that it's real. And you have to have a president to know that it's time for a change, and it's time to bring about a change, and it's time to put the hatred down. It's time to bring this country together. It's time for you to belong in a country that don't want you and that has not want you. But you can change that on November the 3rd. You can change injustice on November the 3rd. You can change police brutality on November the 3rd. You can change having a better health care on November the 3rd. You can change for essential workers to have better pay and insurance on November the 3rd. If you vote for Teague on November the 3rd, write my name in, Teague, for a change, because the change starts with you. I love you, America, and let's make it happen on November the 3rd. God bless you. God bless America, and God bless the day you was born.
Thank you very much, our dear President, Madam President Yancy Teague. Thank you so much for your input, for your presentation tonight. But before we go, we want to thank a bunch of people that came here tonight to support our presidential-elect Yancy Teague. I want to say Dr. Monica did not get to make it to the show tonight. But of course, I saw her in the chat supporting. I want to say thanks to Dr. Monica from Caribbean Gospel Radio FM. Now, the last thing, we've come to the end of tonight's program, and one thing that I want to say before we leave, and this is on behalf. I think I'm not. I'm going to see if we can do a part 3, because there are some things that I want to address as well, in terms of my disagreement with a few things. But before we set a date, I just want to give a few points that I want to say. I personally believe in teamwork. I believe teamwork is something that is beneficial to any party, to any successful businessman, to any successful organization or institution. Teamwork. Now, I want to remind us that, and even remind our president that, do not wait for election day to start what you're doing. I think you should start what you're doing right now. And I think you need a team behind you. I think you need a campaign team behind you to set things up to make work lighter for you. I know there is Pamela, who is a director, or I don't remember what her position is, but Pamela is there to help you out with a lot of things. But I think you need a team. And by the way, I am not saying that anything is wrong with anything that you do tonight. I'm just saying that most of the president that as a matter of fact, before I go any further, I want to thank you for your effort, because a lot of people that will criticize you did not even make an effort to make the change. Now you make the effort to step forward as a leader that inspire and aspire to lead the American people. And I want to say I lift my hat off to you so much that I did not even wear it tonight. Thank you for such amazing effort as a lady who believe in making the country better and putting a foot forward. Now, many of us, or many of the leaders that have given a speech or a presentation before, I've noticed that they have what you call a speech writer. They have a team, and they have somebody that write their speeches for them. So when they come to give their presentation, most of them read from what they have prepared, because you will get lost. Even if you're very educated, even if you're very intellectual, you will get lost amidst of some questions that people will ask you, and it will throw you off, and you will forget exactly what you want to say. But when you have your speech ready for the people, and you come, it doesn't matter what question people ask and what they do, you have your speech ready for you. And I want to say this as well. I have seen some of the highest intellectuals make mistakes, and sometimes they you know what, let's move on. Let's move right along. I just want to say, though, I would suggest and I would encourage that you get a team behind you. You need a team behind you. So not only your vice president, but you need a PR team. You need a whole crew in order to take this stance and to get into this election on the 3rd of November. You need a whole team behind you who supports you, who believe in you and what you do. So that means, it will make the work for you much easier, and you will have likely a more successful election. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for coming tonight, President Yancy Teague, and I will see you again on the next episode of the TR News and Reviews and Yancy Teague, our elected president.
And thank you for having me. And I'm praying that I will be able to see you again. And thank you.
All right. And by the way, before I go, before 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 I go, I had mentioned to Change for Dollar that I will fight. Now, that statement was incomplete. Change for a dollar. I am going to fight you, my brother. Oh, Change for a dollar wants to call in. Okay. All right, Change for a dollar. Please go ahead and call in. Let me give you the number again. This show was supposed to end, but I'm going to leave the phone lines open for my brother Change for a dollar wants to call in and say something. So let's have you call in. Oh, that's not your number. Okay. Okay, I see our president backstage. I'm not sure if you have something finally that you want to say. Just give me a signal if you have something that you want to say before we close the show officially. Okay, no. All right, cool. All right, okay. All right, so I just want to say thanks to a couple of people before we head outside. Let me just say thanks to a couple of people before we go. Hold on, let me just do that. All right, so I want to say a big thank you to a couple of people in the chat right now. I want to say the Allwood Passy, thank you for coming. We have Ruth Daly, thank you for coming. Carter Club, thank you for coming. We have Change for a dollar, thank you for coming. This thing is stuck on me, so sorry, I will not be able to get to everybody because the chat is. We have Tiffany. Thank you for coming, Tiffany. Thank you, Shay's Journey, for coming. Thank you, SF Rose. Be Amazing, Sylvia. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Cinnamon Hot. That got to be hot. Thank you, Amy Carnival. Thank you, Carter Club. Thank you. Somebody else was there. I missed quite a few of the names of the people that were in the chat. Thank you, Change for a dollar, for that donation. Thank you so much, Change for a dollar. And thank you to there was a person who donated earlier tonight. Leonard. Before and after. So before and after the mix had donated $10 earlier in the stream. I want to say thank you for that donation. And thank you, Change for a dollar, for that donation. And I'm still going to fight you. Change for a dollar. I am going to fight you. I am very serious about that. All right. Don't try to disturb my program while I am on air. Thank you. This is a professional show. Do not try to disturb or distract me in the show. Thank you very much, Change for a dollar, for your donation anyway. We appreciate that. And with that said, let me look into the camera because we're about to end the stream now. At the end of this song will be the end of the stream. And as I say again, for those who want to donate to a worthy cause to Yancy Teague, you can donate at AliceYancyTeague2020.com. Okay. All right. So you can donate to her progress in becoming our president on November 3rd. And of course, your contributions will be contributing to the campaign because, Yancy will have to campaign to win, and your donations is much acceptable. And for those who want to donate to the TR show, you know where to find me. Thank you so much, Change for a dollar. And of course, thank you everybody who turned up to the show tonight. So I'm going to play the track one more time. And at the end of this music, it's going to be the end of tonight's show. Thank you all for coming. God bless you.